Welcome back. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people for your Tuesday, April the 30th. Tomorrow is the beginning of May. Very cool. It is kind of chilly actually now that I say that. Calder finalists have been revealed. Connor Bedard, to the surprise of no one, being one of the finalists. I don't think it's a surprise Brock Faber's there. I don't think it's a surprise Luke Hughes is there either. Highly likely that Bedard ends up winning this trophy, of course. He had a really, really strong rookie season. Superstar player. Both Faber and Hughes look like players who are going to have nice long careers as well. So, pretty strong rookie class overall this year in the National Hockey League. Moving on to some news from there. John Cooper, after last night's elimination at the hands of the Florida Panthers, stating that he was not happy with the goalie interference calls, felt they were unfair, talked about how they're babying goalies kind of thing, and no, it's just it's interference. Like, it wasn't to the level of a penalty, but it's still interference. Incidental contact's interference. And I never heard an announcer or an official say, well, I don't think that should have been called that way. It just, yeah. At any rate, I thought both calls were the right call. In fact, when they challenged the call on the ice when it was waved off for goalie interference, right away, both the announcers and Dave Jackson, the former official, agreed they didn't understand why that was being challenged because it was pretty clear there wasn't enough there to overturn the ruling on the ice. But yeah, Cooper not happy. He did say he believes that Steve Stamkos belongs in Tampa. We'll see if Stamkos agrees once we get to June/July. Stamkos didn't think about the fact that it could have been his last game with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was focused completely on how they did on the ice and trying to win the game. I would imagine that's at least crossed his mind since the game finished. Especially when you got reporters sticking microphones in your face and saying, hey, you realize this might have been your last game with Tampa. No, but now I'm thinking about it. But anyways, I think Stamkos probably stays. I'd be very surprised if he moves on, but we're going to hear a lot of rumors between now and July 1st, unless he signs an extension before then, which he probably will, I would think. Austin Matthews is a game-time decision for the Leafs. He was at the morning skate, but apparently not for very long. So it's an odd situation with Matthews. I don't think they're being transparent here about what's going on with Matthews at all. I think they're trying to downplay it as much as possible, and I think if Toronto gets knocked out tonight, we'll find out the truth. If Toronto doesn't get knocked out tonight and they move on to Game 6, we still won't have any clarity on what's going on with Austin Matthews. But with him being a game time decision, it means other players have to step up. And one thing that I'm going to do a video on with whatever happens with Toronto if they do get eliminated is I want to look at teams that have won Stanley Cups and star players and how, I mean, even if those star players aren't producing, those teams still win. And that's the problem. Everybody focuses on the star, 2, 3, 4 players in Toronto. But the reality is that teams that find a way to win in the playoffs very often are forced to find that depth scoring. They're forced to find unusual heroes from one night to the next. And those are the teams that move on. So while everybody's focusing on one player in Toronto for the most part, and I get it with how much money he makes and all that, but the reality is that, especially with Tampa, that third line went a huge way towards getting them to that second Stanley Cup. And that's something that Toronto just hasn't had the luxury of. It's just everybody focuses on the key guys. So again, that's a video that's going to be on the way. I want to look at Stanley Cup champions, I would say from 2006 till now, and just go through each team and say, here's who the heroes were from one night to the next, and here's the difference between that and in this case, Toronto, but in the case of teams that don't find that success. So, yeah, it'll be one of those comparison videos and probably be a madness video with a whole bunch of magnets. But don't worry, I am literally making thousands of magnets. The family's kind of concerned with what my plan is, but I think I can make it work. It's thousands. And they're so tiny. But anyways, yeah. So look forward to that. Shelovs, it looks like, could be the starter tonight for the Vancouver Canucks. I'd be very surprised if he's not, because they're not telling us anything, which tells me that while the reports are it's changing from 1 hour to the next as to what they expect, I would think Shelovs probably gets the start tonight. Tremendous concern, of course, with the fact that there hasn't been much said about Demko other than week to week. And the DeSmith situation is really, truly shrouded in secrecy. So, no idea what to expect, but Shelovs probably plays tonight against Nashville, and we'll see how it goes. For the Jets tonight, Morgan Barron and Brendan Dillon are out, which is not really a surprise. Perfetti and Miller are set to make their series debuts. So there you go. For all these fans that were like, why do you mention Perfetti in the preview? He's not even going to play, stupid hockey guy. Well, now Perfetti's going in, and they need goals, and Perfetti's a guy who had 19 during the season. I still think it's a mistake not having him in the lineup right from the start of the round anyways. So we'll see how he does tonight with Barron and Dillon out. But Colin Miller, a player with some experience, so that's good. But we'll see how Perfetti does. Now the Jets do. Can they survive? Can they, at least win tonight against Colorado and save some face there? I'm going to jump down to the bottom of the board first. So TJ Oshie, and this is just released while I was putting this board together. Back issues could prevent TJ Oshie playing next year for the Capitals. And when a player comes out and says, I've been dealing with this nagging issue and I don't know if I'm going to play next year, that is very often the start of what ends up being a career-ending injury, right? So for Oshie, a player who's gone through so many injuries over the years, in the event that he doesn't play next season, I would not be surprised to see him end up retiring. So I don't know what the Capitals are going to do in the light of this news. This is a team that fought and clawed its way into that final wildcard spot just to get trounced in 4 games by the Rangers. So think about this. Oshie dealing with back pain all the time every day and a broken hand in game 4. So was he productive in the playoffs? No. Was he 100%? Absolutely not. Which then, to me, it kind of turns the question to Ovechkin. I don't know if Ovechkin's been 100% at times this year either. So, yeah, the Capitals, there's definitely some question marks there. So, Arizona Coyotes, the move's taken place, and now there's kind of all this discussion about, so remember all that other stuff? So, glowing reviews for the new ownership in Utah and how they've organized this. And, of course, the fan reception has been great. And so now people are looking back on the poor treatment that employees got in Arizona. Remember the reports? Remember I did a whole video on Katie Strang's reporting. And Katie Strang has been very upfront about how people in the Arizona Coyotes organization have felt about Alex Morello and just the way that people have been treated. There was a lot of Coyote fans that came out and said, no, this isn't true. This is all hearsay. And, the media just don't want hockey in Arizona. And this is just all to make Arizona look bad. And I know there were times where I would report on this and I would get told the same thing. Like, don't buy into this. This isn't true. There's no uncertainty of the future in Arizona, and this organization's fine. Stop reporting on gossip and rumors. But the reporting's resurfaced now, looking back at everything, looking back at them not paying their bills, not paying players their bonuses. And just, employees reporting not being paid as well on time. Now, back in 2023, what's also been said in an article that's on the ESPN website right now, Shane Doan was told he wasn't ready to be president of hockey operations. And apparently, Alex Morello's son is the one that basically decided he wasn't ready for president of hockey ops. So Shane Doan, after, 30 years in the desert approximately, being told, yeah, we don't think you can run hockey ops, he went to Toronto. He's like, all right. So he went to the Toronto Maple Leafs where he has a position with that team. I just find that odd. Like, to me, making Shane Doan the president of hockey operations is just an automatic if I'm in Arizona. Like, okay, this is the face of the franchise since the team moved here. So, yeah, he could be president of hockey operations, which at times has kind of felt like just more of a title than anything. Like, I'm not saying it's a made-up job or anything, but it doesn't feel like president of hockey operations would be something that you wouldn't be willing to give Shane Doan. And that letting him go is just odd. Plus, Doan apparently given the banner, his jersey retirement banner, being informed that it was just going to get thrown in the trash otherwise. What? And keep in mind that if that reporting was true, that seems odd for an owner that's bound and determined to bring the team back. Why would you throw anything out? Why would you do that? Like, it doesn't make any sense to throw things out unless you really don't think you're bringing it back. So there's a belief that there's going to be local opposition to the arena project. On March the 6th, apparently Bettman or Daly, one or the other or both, approached Morello and asked, can you look the players in the eye and tell them when there's going to be an arena built. And Morello's answer was, no, I can't. But he still had to think in him and Ha on whether or not he wanted to keep the team and whether or not he wanted to sell the team. And he's been I don't know, he's been kind of defiant about this whole losing the team and saying he didn't lose the team, just the players and the personnel transferred to Utah. Like, oh my gosh, how delusional are you? Like, just imagine if I started a video up tomorrow and I said, now it looks like I'm in a hotel room. But what's happened is Yvonne decided to transport me to another location. I'm still pretty good though. We're not, I mean, yeah, she's filing for divorce and everything. But I mean, we're not actually getting, like, it's so weird to people be like, is he okay? What's going on? This is kind of weird. Is he in denial? Yeah, it feels like that. It feels like the NHL has gone through this process of divorcing themselves from Morello and done what they have to do to make that happen, which is let him have the Coyotes name, let him have all the trademarks and copyrights, and give him the 5-year window to rebuild in Arizona. But think about it this way too. It's a 5-year window. There's nothing saying that in year 6 they couldn't say, okay, we're going back to Arizona and here's a new owner. We're going to have a new team name and we're going to be playing out of this arena. So I have no idea what's going to happen here, but the reporting now on the land auction. So remember, the land auction, 80% of land auctions, you only have one bidder. The land in northern Phoenix that they're looking at building this new arena and the whole district on is seen as kind of a good piece of land. So now that the Coyotes have moved, people that weren't going to bid because you don't want to be known as the guy who made the Coyotes move, well, now you don't have to worry about that because the Coyotes have moved. So now there's far more likely to be other bidders on that land, and it could drive the price up. One thing I saw today on X, formerly known as Twitter, so definitely take it with a grain of salt, was it could be as high as $200 million for that land. And I don't know that Morello is going to want to pay $200 million for that land. Because that would be how much somebody else is willing to bid, and he may have to bid more than that. And again, I don't know that he's going to want to bid that much. I think it's $65 million is the starting point for that land, so we shall see. But it does feel like we may not be done talking about this story. I apologize to people who may be tired of hearing about the story, but it's definitely newsworthy because it just sounds like it was a disaster. The organization and just the environment there wasn't necessarily great. Employees not being treated really, really well. And so the question then becomes, would the NHL really want to go back there with him as the owner? And I think there's a valid question to be asked with that. So we can get into a whole other discussion another time. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.